Will not hear me fine? It's okay? Yeah. So, first of all, thank you again, Linus, for your invitation. It was a really pleasure to come to London one more time, third time, by the way. It's a really nice city. So, just a little about me. I think you already hear that. So, I work at Decathlon. It's not a surprise. I'm Anthony. I'm 32 years old. It changes every year, so sometimes I forgot. I work at Decathlon since 10 years, and I'm based in Lille. It's in the north of France, so we have approximately the same. I forget the word, by the way, but it rains a lot at my place too. What else? Because I work at Decathlon, we spoke a lot about sports, so I practice a little bit of sports. The big one is Raise My Son, who run a lot too, and I run just after him. I practice triathlon, skydiving. It's the most funny, and it's a little bit funny. And my hobbies are house renovation and football. So the best team of France, it's Lille. It's the LOSC. And I think currently it's not a joke, it's a real best friendship. And just more things about me. I think, by the way, that I'm the Kafka guy of Decathlon. So when we speak Kafka Decathlon, a lot of time we speak with me. A lot of time it's good, a lot of time it's not good, because I have a lot of questions, all sorts of questions. A nice thing, it's that I have multiple sclerosis, so that's why I can be a little bit. I can do something strange in my brain. It's not my fault, by the way. And I never prepare my slide a lot, so sorry if you see some mistake, etc. Because I have a lot of thoughts. So, ready to play? That's the subject of today. I just add this slide 10 minutes ago because I discovered that some people don't know what is Decathlon. When we live in France, it's a big surprise. So it's okay. So Decathlon, it's a sports goods retailer. We have many stores, approximately 2,000. If I remember right, it changed like my age every year. And it's approximately in 70 countries, so we are a worldwide company for sport goods. And we sell around 80 sports, so starting from dance for little guys and little women to horse practicing. So really fun. But we are not here to speak only about sports. We will speak about a specific sports, that is Kafka. To start with the context, I put 2024, it's the year, there is no other figures behind that. The context is in Decathlon that we have more than 70,000 topics. This represents 90,000 partitions, so we are in the high level, I think, around this. And if we focus only on the e-commerce side, we manage approximately 600 messages per second. Why I have only the figures on the e-commerce side? I can discuss about it with a beer after. David can understand this, but I don't have all the metrics of the company, and this is the first mess that I can share to you. That's why I don't have all the figures of the company today. If you take the first two big shapes, it's that can appear that we have different strategy itself into the company. So there is business units who have multiple Kafka clusters, and there are other business units with a single Kafka clusters. So I work in a specific business unit, other people work in the other business units, So I have a lot of figures from my own business units with the e-commerce side. And I can have other figures from other business units with lot of negotiation, with discussion, etc. Telling to people, okay, I work on Kafka, I need these figures for direction, management, etc. Please give me access, etc. So it takes a lot of time, etc. I think you can imagine when what I mean. So there is a lack of governance on our side today. So the Kafka journey at Decathlon starts 6 years ago now with me. Sorry or happy, I don't know. We start in 2018 with an absurd imagination about the turnover evaluation in real time. So for the funny part, I spoke with a lot of people in the past, a lot of Confluent peoples, because in the past Confluent was mainly the producer of Kafka services. And the funny part is, for the anecdote, a guy tell me, no, you will never be able to evaluate the turnover if you don't start your Kafka journey with a log management. I was, okay, I'm a sport guy, I'm a challenger, we will evaluate the turnover. And finally, it works. So that was the really good point. So we never start with the log management like EL key at the past, Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana. It was the highway in the past. We directly start with the Kafka stream and turnover evaluation. So brainstorming, not sleep, brainstorm. A lot of work around that and to understand how it works, etc. But finally, we did it in approximately 4 months. We evaluated the turnover in real time. So the feature at the end was the direction asked about the company figures. They have it in 50 minutes. In 50 minutes real time, that was the real figures. So at the start, there was only few teams managing Kafka with the self-deployment. So at the start, we were on Rancher, for example, based on AWS, for David, last pass, on AWS, and with, like we can call a virtual machine in the past, with a lot of memory, a lot of CPU, and we put it Kafka on it. After comes the 2020, and we signed with an external provider, first of all for the database side, but they provide Kafka, and we've seen a lot of advantages to use Kafka with an external provider, so no more self-managed. And after, because of it was easy to subscribe to a Kafka service, we have a lot of teams creating their own Kafka, etc. And that's what we call the expansion side. So there is no more, at the same time, there is no more data central data team. I forget the order of ordering. So the end of central data exchange. So we stop, by the way, web method tooling, for example, where all flows of the company pass through. We stop this solution, and all teams must take the ownership of the data exchange. So imagine, we are a company since 40 years, I think, with approximately 900 flows. And we asked to all the teams to take the ownership of their data flow exchanges. So it was amazing. It was really hard. But teams did it, and as a team member, you go on the tech radar of Decathlon, you ask for a data exchange solution, and the only solution you saw, it was Kafka. So you can imagine that we have all sorts of features. We have a point-to-point exchange. We have teams making something strange, like exchanging PDF files through Kafka. Please don't do it. So we have all what you can imagine passing through a network. At Decathlon, it passes through Kafka. So that's the only solution in the past. So because of that, the awareness, I think I did a mistake because I didn't prepare my slides. But we have too many clusters without any governance because, as you can imagine, too many teams, not enough time to work on the governance, etc. Because we are retailers, at the start, we are not engineers. So no Kafka guy at the past, etc. So a lot of disaster with this. And because of that, currently we are at this step in blue and green about the new operating model that we want to apply. So it's still in progress because the challenge is enormous. I don't know. So if we go into it and we take figures, that's the real figures. We can speak about Kafka. So the first table is the percentage count of topics by clusters. So you take all the clusters, you take a map, okay, and you can analyze what happens on their clusters, okay, with amazing extraction. So what we see with this, it's really interesting. If you take the half, the middle, you have the half of the clusters with only 22 topics. For a worldwide company, it's strange, no? So, as a Kafka lover, what I ask to myself is, okay, at which step we can tell that, okay, this cluster is fine. We don't need to touch to him. They fine use Kafka. To have this good answer, we must go at least, I think, 90%. It's totally crazy, you know? Okay, so what we can tell is that approximately 90% of the clusters at Decathlon must not exist, or must exist on 1 or 2 clusters, certainly. It's totally funny. Because if you take the blueprint of Confluent and others company, certainly Gravity, you can manage easily 4,000 partitions by clusters with no mess. Okay, like a grandmother around the fire, you don't touch them. Okay, it's okay. And the concept is the same for partitions count, because some of times the topics and partitions are linked. So for the partitions, if you go to the 90%, you have approximately the half usage of a common usage of Kafka. So you don't pass 2,000 with the 90% of usage clusters. So based on the figures, I tried to put a new strategy from that. So the goal is basic. We are from a place and we want to go to another place, another statement. So we are coming from an autocratic governance. Okay, each team decide what they want to apply, and we would like to go to a federated governance. So data and configuration share the same strategy on the platform. As you've seen, there are many installations. So we would like to go to the buzzword platform and to have few platform installations. So have a platform for the value chain, have a platform for the business capabilities platform, have a platform for customer growth, another business unit of Decathlon, etc. Currently, it's a lot of data silo. If you want to have access to value chain data, if you want to have access to e-commerce data, if you want to have access to financial data, etc., you need to ask access to every team, to different clusters, to different management. So sometimes it's directly the Kafka protocol. Sometimes it's through a dedicated interface. There is a lot of different things, and as a developer, it's a strange journey for them. So to have a data as a product, to be able to provide data rather than clusters, by the way. And at the end, it's a little bit the same thing, but I would like to tell them separated. The manual onboarding on individual environment. So imagine your experience as a developer. You need to connect to different clusters. Some clusters pass through SSL, for example, with SSL connections. Other clusters provide their data with a HTTP REST API in front of Kafka. So it's a little bit strange. So in a concrete world, you have the same data available through HTTP, through Gravity, for example, because we have Gravity for the HTTP side. And at the same time, you can have the data with another way through Kafka. It doesn't make sense at all. So it's really strange. And it's not easy to subscribe. So the target points that we would like to address, the first one, because we are a company and without money, I don't have work. So the first point is to be profitable. As you can imagine, I don't give the final figures because of a lot of things. If you are not profitable with Kafka, at the end, it will be ended by someone who decides who has the money, okay? So the first challenge is to be profitable through Kafka. Otherwise, I think I will not be more Kafka guy at Decathlon in the future. So we must not be costless. That's not the subject that I want to share. Costless is not really efficient because if we try to put the cost to the lowest level possible, we do shit. Sorry for the word, but at the end we try to broke the system, and it's really strange. So the interest is to be efficient, not costless. Reduce the risk, because imagine, and it's my life approximately 2 days a week, there is a disaster on the cluster because of a human action, because of human action or human action. At the end, it's always the same conclusion. My life today is that, okay, we have a problem of Kafka. Okay, we don't know how it works, but we use it. Who knows Kafka at Decathlon? And at the end, it's me. A lot of time. I'm not alone, in fact, but they have my name, so they ask me. So this is too riskful for a company to work like that, and for a company like Decathlon, it's not the target that we want to achieve. So the goal is to be ready for disaster, and something like enforced configuration, etc. Because a lot of time, when I go to a cluster with misconfiguration, etc., at the end it's because of lack of configuration or just something. In the real life, last week, a team asked me about connection from Asia to Europe. So, by the way, it can work. There is no problem with that. And I go through the code, etc. It took me 2 days because of lack of access, etc. Remember what I presented just before. It took me 2 days to find that they didn't put connection setup on their cluster. So they connect to a cluster without authentication. But they change the log format, etc. So at the end, to be able to see in the log that the connection is not ready, it took me 2 days. Imagine the cost, okay? Because it's me, it's other people with asking with network, etc. Around 10 people for just credentials files not put into the configuration. It's amazing. It's crazy. The third point is about optimization. So no more useless config. Like I see teams getting code from historically, I forgot the name, but from internet, and currently more and more with ChatGPT, etc., with AI producted code, sorry. So there is a lot of useless config. Teams sometimes put the default config in their config, so they don't know what they do. For example, what we want is only the right ones. So if you don't need to set up the batch default MS, batch MS at 50 because it's the default configuration, for example, for Kafka people who know them. So there's a lot of configuration like that. But the better optimization that we are looking for is that it's for the data duplication. We'll try to make a hand eye about who duplicates the data today to anonymize the data. Me, I can tell that I do that because I don't have yet a solution for that. Okay, the workflow is I produce customer data because I manage orders. So I'm the leader of the order management. So what is the workflow? The data is coming into my system, okay? Because I'm the owner of the data, I have the data in clear on my system at the end, okay? There is no secret. By the end, if you want to have access to the data, there is always a solution when you are the owner of the data. But we need to provide this data to other teams, to only teams. We don't share data with other company officially. And I think we don't do that. Otherwise, I will be aware. But some of times we need to share this data. For example, to have a notification on your phones, by mail, etc., to be able to do a click and collect, something like that. It's not the order manager who does that. Okay, it's not the interest of the order manager. So we need to share this data to others. This is interesting because we don't need to anonymize or encrypt this data. But in other sides, for example, for the financial part, we don't want to share your personal data. Okay, financial teams don't need to send you an email or an SMS, etc., to tell you, hey, Decathlon made 100 euros on your card today. Okay, it doesn't really interesting. So we need to anonymize the data. So the flow is the data is produced on order manager. It's shared on a public Kafka topic, public because it's not anonymized, okay, for the notification, etc. And at the end, we retake this data, we anonymize it, and we duplicate the anonymized data to another topic for financial, etc. So it's a duplication of data. It's the same data, but 2 times. Okay. We would like to increase the velocity. By the way, it's to provide a unique framework at the end. So I share you the last week event. The objective is, okay, you use Kafka, I know how it works on your system. That's all. And finally, the governance to be able to control, observe, and extract what we need. Today, to have extraction about Kafka data, it's a big mess for me. I need to ask to people with admin rights on all Decathlon, or asking to the external provider with which I have a direct contact, etc. So I don't have a system letting me to observe what happens for the data, for Kafka, etc. in Decathlon, because it's too disparate. So the framework we imagine is this. The autonomous topic management, named ATM. First of all, it's a user interface. So create and manage your own Kafka topics in the ATM user interface. So you go through ATM, you can create a topic, and we put rules like topic naming enforcement, default setup with 3 partitions, etc. The second one that I just told, it's about the rules. So we are able to enforce rules through the UI, or with a self-homemade API. So if you develop your own HTTP client, you are able to contact with to communicate with the API and create a new topic, etc. Okay, so we rewrite the Kafka protocol on top of this. And at the end, the access control is made by default because we create organization and teams on the UI, and you are able to use this organization to tell, okay, this topic is on this organization, etc. So by default, we have role access. So I hope that you don't trust me about the last slide. This is not what we want to achieve. In fact, this slide is exactly what to not to do. Okay? So because if we take the first point, what I tell to a team that in fact it exists. That's why I put this. That's why I put this example. There is a team in Decathlon creating this tool in the past. So that's why I take it at a subject. So on the first point, we can ask what happens if I don't want to pass over a user interface. I'm a developer. I don't use a user interface. I use Terraform. I use GitHub, etc. I don't use a user interface to manage Kafka topics. And by the way, in my domain, I have hundreds of topics. So I don't go to a user interface and click, create, okay. It don't work, so I recreate, etc. About the rules, on my domain, for example, we are fully GitOps. There is no user interface. We are only a backend business unit. So I don't want to pass over the Kafka API. The Kafka API is my language. In fact, I can speak Kafka API protocol. It's okay for me. At Decathlon first, the organization moved and really fast. We change the organization every 6 months. It's a drama at Decathlon, but it works, so why not? But it changes every time. So in my domain, we have a rule, because it changes every time, we have a rule that never puts an organization name or a cost center in anything, in any resource, because sincerely, since 10 years at Decathlon, I think I changed the cost center 20 times. My own cost center, it changed every time. The name changed every time too, etc. And it's a mess because it adds another layer over the Kafka ACL, so it's a little bit strange to communicate with another ACL than Kafka at the end. So the real framework, what we promote is a Kafka proxy. And for the anecdote, we worked on the Kafka proxy before I met Linus, so it's not a gravity asking to me to speak about a Kafka proxy or Kafka gateway. Proxy is the same as gateway in this ecosystem, okay? So what's a Kafka proxy? It's as simple as a man in the middle, okay? So what is a man in the middle? It's simply a guy or a woman taking the control over your connection and doing something with it. So it can observe, it can change, it can manipulate it. It's a man in the middle, okay? So the strategy is doing a man in the middle over all the communication for Kafka in Decathlon. Doing that, I will be able to be the man in the middle for Kafka. So not to change your cart, you can trust me. It's just to me to understand, okay, what is doing the team based in China with their own Kafka cluster, etc. Because I don't have the information. So take the information from the source. So a Kafka proxy is as simple as this. We put a Kafka proxy, a gateway in the middle, and we can manipulate, check everything on the Kafka protocol. And we don't change the protocol. We don't change the protocol. That's really easy. We take directly the communication from Kafka. So we don't ask to clients to change to HTTP, to other things. Doesn't matter. We just ask to the client to change the endpoint and maybe the authentication. If you want, after we can speak about authentication with a beer. And I can tell that this is production ready. My prediction is to be able to deliver software, etc., for developers too. So, for example, we are using this feature currently since approximately 1 year, I think. It's the multi-tenant feature that we are able to do with the Kafka proxy. So what we do, it's on the development part, a developer creates a pull request, okay? He has some change to do, etc., and his system is using Kafka. In the past, what we did, it's maybe create a container-based Kafka mounted on Kubernetes, etc., something like this, or container in the JVM directly, etc. The problem with that is that we discover that we can have a connection problem at the end, etc. So the test was not fully approved. Okay. So with the multi-tenant, what we do, so we have the external Kafka provider here. Okay. We put a Kafka proxy, and what we are able to do is that for each pull request of a developer, when he needs to validate for a merge at the end, we create like a virtual cluster on the physical one. So we are able to use only one cluster with a closed environment. So there is no resource sharing, etc. There is no misconnection, etc. It's totally closed for one environment. So on one PR pull request, on one pull request, when you do a list topic, for example, you see the topics of your pull request, not the others. It's totally funny. And I don't tell it, but it's right. It's just using the basic Kafka protocol. So we just add prefix on each resources, and after we do a filter, and we just use the multi-tenant basic of Kafka by default. But as I told, the main objective is to be efficient and to reduce the cost by the end. So what we will do is, as I told, to take the control over each connection, and at the end, we will be able to merge cluster because we will know what is happening on the order manager cluster, on the fulfiller cluster, on the checkout, pricing, value chain, finance, human resources, all the clusters that you can imagine. We can take the end. And because we know what happens, we are able to optimize the final cluster at the end. So the added value of a Kafka proxy in my mind is the effortless for application migration. We just ask to change the authentication side and the endpoint, so the DNS at the end. We can apply a limit pressure. So for example, for a funny anecdote too, we have like a DDoS attack at Decathlon, but not by external providers or external systems, sorry, but by ourselves. Yeah, we are really good people. What happens? So there is a guy, okay, who has a connection to my cluster in the past. So he has the SSL certificates and the client credentials for MTLS, okay? But his credentials arrived at the end, so they are not more valid, but he still has the SSL certificate, so he asks for a connection, and every time I tell him, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't. Try it on the Kafka cluster, the CPU is growing up really fast, and goodbye, dodo in French. So we can apply monitoring, easy to understand. Insert conventions. Why we can insert conventions is because we have the end on the Kafka protocol. So if I don't want you to ask me for something like a create topic, like delete a topic, like asking for a too high batch, etc., I can cut your connection directly, not asking to a team to do it, etc. We can do data masking and encryption. I already talked about it. But we can do it in live, so no more duplication of data. And we can apply an easy disaster recovery plan. Just for the end, this is the most funny. I think I lose a lot of hair last month about this. It's an extra feature named shifted topics. So it's not in production, but it could be. So because of strategy, it's not yet in production. What we are able to do, I take simple symbols, etc. For this. It's at the left, you have a Kafka cluster with a physical topic. Okay, all the data in this topic. What we can do with shifted topics is to provide to you, sorry, like dynamic topics. Okay, so I can expose to you what I want. So if I want to expose to you only a shifted topics with blue stars, I can. Without duplicating the data, because I manage the protocol, so I can manage your consumer offset, I can manage your connection, etc. So this is really useful for us because of the duplication of data, for example, for the catalog of products. Okay, imagine, we don't sell Stars Blue Decathlon, I don't think, but we sell the bikes, we sell the skateboards, etc. If you take the example of bikes, and I will end with this, you can have child bikes, you can have sports bikes, you can have mountain bikes, etc. All their bikes make sense to be in a Kafka topic, okay, to have a catalog. We have a different organization coming because it happens every time. So now the team managing the mountain bike and the team managing the child bike is not the same team. So by default, we would like to separate the data. It's exactly what we can do with shifted topics. We can just tell, okay, expose a new topic with only mountain bikes. That's it. It's done. And we don't duplicate the data, we don't change everything, etc. So we named it like a topic versioning. We can provide a catalog in the first version, a catalog in the second version, etc. And without changing the Kafka protocol. So I don't think that it works in English. So I will try to explain. It's what I share at Decathlon. It's to make Kafka great again. You know who can tell that. It's doing Kafka without forgetting the F. I don't know if you know how we tell shit in France. It's in the bad word, it's merde. In the conventional word, is caca. Okay, so it's a French word game. I think that's all. Yes, thank you.
Are there any questions? So I don't know if this is handled by Gravity, but how do you ensure exactly once delivery when you have multi-tenants and like multiple brokers? And if you can tell me about your experience with that.
Okay, we start with the hardest question. No, it's okay. So the question is about how we can manage the exactly once with the multi-tenant strategy. The multi-tenant, if I'm not wrong, act only on stateful resources. So your consumer offset will not, the consumer offset management will not change, okay? Because we will just add a prefix on the customer group, and we do it every time. So on the multi-tenant, it's a little bit easy because we we do it on each request from a connection. Okay, where it's hard, it's on this. You can't do it with a Kafka self-resource. You are obliged to rewrite part of Kafka management, like consumer offset management, like topic, metadata, etc. I forgot something, I think.
Yeah. So what about when you're writing to multiple brokers? So like the consuming part is reading from broker A, but you are writing to broker B and broker C.
Okay. Okay. So what you mean? It's more on a multi-cluster feature, I think, rather than multi-tenant. If you want to apply like a multi-tenant with a multi-cluster, you need a middleware. There is no other possible. You need a state store at the middle and store. Okay, this connection is coming for this tenant, etc. In our case, the multi-tenant is only on one physical cluster, maybe replicated with Mirror Maker or something, doesn't matter, but it's only applied on a single cluster. And the feature is like a reverse. It's to provide like a multi-clusters to only one physical. Okay, so to have this picture, where is it? Yeah. In the past, we have a cluster for order manager, another for fulfiller, another for checkout, etc. With multi-tenant, we can enable the multi-tenant on the proxy and have at the end only one physical cluster. So it's like an enclosure for each application. But multi-tenant, we are working on the open source for Kafka 4.0 because there is a lot of change and there is a lot of breaking points about Kafka resources. So I don't know how it will work at this moment for the next version of Kafka.
Probably this is for Gravity. In the traditional API management, right? It's not only filtering, we do also have some kind of a transformation, right? So what I saw here is more like kind of filtering the existing data. Yes. But is there an option that we can able to do the transformation? For example, if my Kafka topic has got an XML data, yes, right? But I wanted to expose that as an JSON for yes, my existing consumer. Yes. Without doing a transformation and creating a duplication of the data right, in a JSON format, yes, can I able to do that?
Yes, the answer is yes. So the benefit that we have and the luxury we have at Gravity is that we come from this world of API management where we have XML to JSON, JSON to XML, and 70 other of these policies. And the majority of those we're able to execute on the Kafka protocol as well, basically. So the answer is yes. What we see is, in terms of use cases, is sometimes people that are standardizing on something like an Avro schema in the schema registry, for example, but they might have some clients that cannot talk Avro for some reason. Maybe only JSON schema works for them, right? But they still need to enforce Avro in the schema registry. So a proxy or gateway like this can basically take incoming schema, JSON schema, and automatically transform it into Avro based on the schema registry, and then allow you to not have to do any custom solution yourself in that situation. So yes, you can change the data like XML to JSON. You can merge data together. We have some customers that want to take data if they have, I think there's some limitations on different Confluent and Kafka distributions that limits the number of megabytes you can have in a Kafka message. So in some situations, I think that's like 2 or 4 megabytes, and sometimes it's like 7. So we have some customers that, for some reason in the retail space, have a large payload in those messages, and they just get dropped by Confluent Cloud, for example, because they can't handle it. And in some situations, because it's causing a lot of cost. So what they can do if they have something like a gateway or proxy is that the proxy can say, oh, this message has a payload of over 3 megabytes. Let's extract the payload, move it to Amazon S3 or Azure Blob Storage, and just inject a small reference header into the message, and then just save the small message into the Confluent ecosystem. And then when a client is consuming the data, the gateway or the proxy knows that, oh, there's a reference to this larger payload on this cheaper storage device. I'm going to aggregate data and put it back. So there's a lot of, obviously that adds a little bit of latency, right? It's obviously, but there's a lot of intelligent, interesting sort of stuff that you can do by manipulating data in that way. Do you want to say a few?
No, we've got like 20 minutes, I think, to network. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks.